Good day, everyone. My name is Anissa Barton Thompson, and I'm the social media specialist for the College of Extended and International Education here at California State University, Dominguez Hills. I'll be your host for this presentation, so welcome. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website and social media shortly after today's session. We're also live on YouTube right now. Feel free to download the Social Media Strategies and Content Marketing Program Information Kit for details about the program and additional resources covered in this webinar. The address is bit.ly/CSUDH-JMX-InfoKit. We've provided a link in the chat for those who are participating live. It will also be available via follow-up email to attendees, as well as on our website. Now, before we jump in, I'd like to review the Zoom controls. The session is being presented in a webinar format, so you won't need to worry about connecting your microphone or camera. However, we want your participation, so help us address your needs. Use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen if you're joining us via the Zoom desktop app or web browser, or in the top right of your screen if you're on a mobile device. Please ask your questions in the Q&A panel rather than in the chat panel. In the chat panel, we will be providing helpful links and other information and resources. Once you click the Q&A button, a dialog box will open, allowing you to type your question. Our marketing staff members, Stephanie Bukian and Keith Otterberg, as well as our program director, Elizabeth Legg, are standing by to assist. We'll be answering those questions at the end of the session, although often you may find the question you have has been answered during those program overviews. With that being said, let's take a quick look at our session's agenda. We'll begin by meeting our certificate faculty, who will introduce you to the program via an overview of benefits, expectations, and course details. Then we'll go over the registration and login information and address your questions in the Q&A session. And now to kick off today's session, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Catherine Clinch, our instructor for the program. Catherine, take it away.
Good morning. I'd like to invite you to consider the possibility of your future. What if everything you know about social media is wrong? Not because you're not smart, not because you haven't looked, but because you haven't known perhaps exactly where to look. In social media, there's all the stuff we all know, okay? You know how to buy a t-shirt, to get a date, to show us what you had at that fabulous restaurant last night, to watch your favorite videos. But the thing about social media is it enables you to build a business. It enables you to sell your product or your service or introduce yourself to the world as a thought leader in your field, or to become an influencer. This class is all about that. It helps you use social media for fun and profit. The question is, do you know how to make people fall in love with what you do? I'm sure a lot of people love you, but do they love what you do? Can you introduce your field to a stranger and have them fall in love with it and say, please, please tell me more? This is the ultimate goal of everything in social media. I am liked, therefore I am. Now, the 3-second rule has been around forever. Think about how fast you scroll through stuff, whether you're on your phone or your computer or just looking at anything else in the day. You now rapidly flip through magazines much faster than you ever did, whether you're aware of that or not, if you read magazines. This has nothing to do, by the way, with the 5-second rule, which, by the way, nobody should ever be eating things off the floor. But I digress. 3 seconds seemed like an impossible task to make people fall in love with you. The future happened. The latest studies done in 2020 by the advertising industry demonstrate that our perception has improved. We've been in training ever since we started using social media. We scroll and scroll and scroll, but then every once in a while we go, wait, what was that? That's what we are looking for our goal to be. How do you make yourself interesting in an endless scroll? Now, when we talk about 40 nanoseconds, a nanosecond is 1 billionth of a second. And if these are the guidelines that the advertising agency is working under, you need to work under them too if you want to start being able to accomplish the task at hand to advance your personal interests. So how do we do that? Nobody falls in love with a line of code. Whether or not anybody wants to admit it, for most intents and purposes, search engine optimization is not essential. Facebook is nothing without emotionally engaging content. It was built on the hormonal drives of a bunch of frat boys at an Ivy League school. Content is the secret sauce. Content is what this class is about. It's how to understand it, how to design it, how to create it, how to measure engagement that it generates that matters. And it's not about likes. This is the perfect trifecta of what your goals should be here, what it takes to create content that your target audience will fall in love with. The star in the middle is your sweet spot. This is I created it to look like bubbles so that you understand that any one of these can burst in any time and your sweet spot won't hit the mark. I'm Catherine Clinch. Let me tell you why I created and teach this class. This is my origin story. I started adulting as a television writer for some very successful network TV series. All of these series, ironically, are still running today, and you can watch them on Stars at Night. I know that because since I wrote them in the 80s and 90s, there's not been a single year I haven't received residuals for them, both domestically and around the globe. These stories are still running because they touch some emotional element of the personal story of the audience and continue to do that decades later. After I stopped writing TV and became a stay-at-home mom, I needed something that I could do with flex time. So I became associate publisher of a magazine called Creative Screenwriting and co-coordinated a conference, the Screenwriting Expo, that drew 5,000 people over 4 days in 3 hotels the last time I did it. So I've been immersed in story and storytelling all my life. I love content in all forms. Then I went on to invent a mobile platform that promotes the seamless integration of branded content. And I was awarded 3 complete utility patents. So I'm currently in the process of building the app, which takes a lot longer than one would hope. And we're getting ready to go into beta in the near future. My entire life has been an immersion in storytelling. When I started, this was the state-of-the-art technology. I managed to write quite a few really good scripts on something like this without the spell check or autosave. Then one day I discovered the App Store. More than 400 apps downloaded into my phone later, basically for your benefit. Well, I digress. Let's move on to the fact that everyone has a story. If you're able to tap into the emotions of someone's personal story, they will willingly listen to your story. They will want to bond with you. So that's where we start. You begin by defining your own story. And if you can't understand your own story, you can't understand anybody else's. So this is a crucial part of the early stages of this class. Strategy. It's a plan of action designed to achieve a particular goal. This is the most crucial factor in making social media work for your business. You'll learn how to define your goal, define who you want to reach, understand why they'll care, and have a call to action. Defining your individual goal is a crucial step. Now, I'm going to let you know that I've had a lot of students come in with one goal, and over the course of 8 weeks, they change that goal and find a new happily ever after that they pursue. You can't hit a target unless you define what the target looks like, and that becomes your goal. So when you come into my class, the first thing I want you to know is what you want to accomplish in the class. We can define your big goals and your small goals, and we're going to build a plan on how to reach them and a strategy on how to implement your plan. And remember, if it changes, we just pivot to that change. Now, the next thing we do is define your target audience. And I love using this cheesy clip art because it makes it seem easier than it is. Defining your target audience is a detailed effort to figure out what you need them to do so you can find the people who are most likely to do it. Now, sometimes your target is global, and not just global. Sometimes they're living in America. They could be born in America, but raised and living in a global cultural bubble. So that's more of a challenge, but we're going to work through that together. I don't know if you know who this woman is, but she started a movement that echoes today. Her name is Teresa Shook. And the 2017 Women's March on Washington began with one simple Facebook post from this grandma in Hawaii. It built a viral momentum because so many other women felt the same frustration she felt and didn't want to feel helpless in their moment of despair. This is the power of social media. But the secret to its success was there was a lot of strategy between the first message she posted and this turnout. And that's what you're going to learn how to do. It took 62 days from her first post to get 1 million women into Washington and other major cities around the world. How can something that started in November of 2016 have anything to do with a medium that's changed so many times since then? Something even bigger than the Women's March on Washington started with a simple message in 2013, and it is rocking the world today. It took time to build, but it built bigger and stronger than the March on Washington and has sustained longer than the march. In 2013, a young man named Trayvon Martin is killed by George Zimmerman, who was acquitted by a Florida jury. This was a trigger moment for a lot of us. I'm getting goosebumps just even talking about this moment because it was the first time that we all became not just the people who were affected by it, but we all became aware of a very, very terrible secret that America had been keeping. And this trigger movement triggered centuries of pain among people who would never have any contact with Trayvon. And it was an emotional touch point. These are the things you will learn about. In 2013, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tomati created a Black-centered political will and movement building project called #BlackLivesMatter. It was in response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman and it started people talking in a way they hadn't spoken to each other before. So from 2013 to 2019, it built to momentum. But then when the time became crucial, it was there to sustain and keep building that momentum and keep it going forward. This was the timeline of what it took to bring that social movement to the public consciousness. And that happened after a slow and consistent build, exploding into the cultural zeitgeist of 2013 when the world witnessed the murder live of George Perry Floyd Jr. being murdered by a police officer for an alleged crime that totaled a value of $20. And it grew. Street murals were painted. This is Hollywood. They were painted all over the world and on actual streets around our country. Black Lives Matter. They were painted in strategic locations where they were likely to get the most visibility to make the biggest impact, like on the street leading up to the White House. And then just months later, this happened. This is social media too. Militia members from all around the country traveled to Washington, D.C. to contest the lawful election of Joe Biden. They stormed the Capitol. Once inside, they fought with the police and guards who were charged with protecting the members of Congress. 5 people died, dozens more were injured, and since then, a couple more have taken their lives recently. This self-proclaimed shaman was swept up in cosplay. Look how everybody mills about in the lobby. See the chatting in the back, taking pictures of the photos of the paintings on the wall? Look at the guy on the right in the front, wearing his name tag from work. They're all taking pictures. They're all posing for the camera. They picked up souvenirs and took the mandatory tourist poses for their social media pages. They carried signs and flags and banners and a hangman's noose. They wore hoodies with ironic statements like Camp Auschwitz. And everybody had the hat. They used all the tools of social media influencers. And how is the slogans, merch, symbols, and hashtags? How is the FBI finding them to arrest them right now? They posted all these pictures on social media, proudly tagging themselves and their friends. Their defense, well, Trump invited us to come here. Where did he send that invitation? On social media. FOMO, fear of missing out, is effectively triggered. If you weren't there, dude, you missed the best party ever. I mean, come on, look at the joy in this, guys. This is the iconic image that will stay. And for generations to come, it will be identified with January 6th, 2021. But then this happened. and this, America got what many of us believe is a happy ending: stability. We know this because social media told us so. But social media, as soon as that happened, had to start playing. Within minutes of the inauguration ceremony, somebody started to play in social media, and then everybody joined in at the emotional expense of a certain beloved senator. First, this is the original moment where Bernie Sanders, attending the outdoor event held in the middle of January for the inauguration, dressed like a sensible resident of Vermont who was also wearing a protective face mask. Within minutes, he was seated with a group of friends. He had met Forrest Gump and was waiting patiently in the Simpsons house. But he also got a little edgy and hung out with some high-risk fellas until suddenly he was with the band. Ultimately, he stopped by to visit a former colleague who didn't seem quite receptive to that. And eventually he became immortalized as Lego merch. Every time the sun sets and rises, the world changes. These daily changes happen everywhere across the globe. If you want to be successful, if you want to make social media work for you, you have to learn how to adapt to make those daily changes work. And that's what this class is about. So let's think about what this class takes. 48 hours. What could you do in 48 hours? It's the cumulative amount of time in a weekend. There's also a 1980s action movie that packed a lot of action into 48 hours. Or you could earn a university certificate that can change your life. So this is the introductory overview that gives you the foundation upon which you're going to build everything else. So let's take a look. You are going to build a framework and for media campaign through social emotional analysis of user demographics. You are going to focus on tools and techniques, study the intellectual property, monetization, predictive models. Predictive models are never always based on data. We're going to use a different kind of predictive model that's going to get you farther and faster than any Excel sheet you could imagine. We're also going to begin a portfolio to implement a personal media campaign. There is no busy work in this class. It is all about you. If you want to start a business marketing a certain kind of tea, that's all you're going to work on. If you want to start a consultancy because you're a lawyer who no longer wants to work and you've discovered you like working out of your home, you can build all those assets to complete a push for your company to enter the market. We are going to talk about the important stuff that you have to get. Everything has to be original. You cannot just forward someone else's content. You must design and create your own original content, and it must fit your specific brand message. So once you learn how to do it correctly, it's going to become second nature to you. And you're not going to have to use Photoshop to do it either, unless you love Photoshop, in which case, God bless you. Every element of your content has a distinct personality. Your content speaks for you and for your brand. And if you are an independent contractor, you are building your own brand. But don't freak out like this poor girl. You're the one who decides which personality your brand will have. Then the question comes, how do you create your brand identity, and what's the best way to present it online, and how can anybody find you in the midst of all these other brand messages? That's a large part of the ongoing curriculum, and there are many ways to do it. We're going to explore the idea of what it means to be popular. We will explore the phenomenon so that you can help increase the appeal of your messaging and make your content more attractive, not as in pretty girl attractive, but attracting meaningful interest and engagement. You're also going to learn about some important legal aspects you have to consider so you can avoid making costly mistakes that could ruin your brand and your finances and completely end your hopes for a business. Now, in the second section, we talk about images, graphics, platforms, and content. This course covers visual messaging and social media formats, psychological emotional impact of image elements, tools and applications to create professional quality images, and focus on effective content on each platform, best practices for creation and distribution of your content. This is a crucial course. What you learn here will carry through to all the other areas. Why does one image succeed while another one that's perhaps better fail? How do you adapt your content to the different platforms? And it's not just about sizing the picture. It really is so many more deeper levels than that. How can you tell a whole story in a single image? This is the gateway course that will hopefully get you hooked on everything that comes after it. But it is definitely the level course that starts you off with the skills that you need to succeed. You're going to learn how to turn a photograph. All of these were basic photographs that I turned into graphic art in less than 3 minutes. It may take you 5, but eventually it's going to take you even less. And you're going to learn how to do it quickly and easily, and again, without Photoshop. JMX 903 is Journalism, Publishing, Entertainment, and E-commerce. This course covers designing and building a brand and making it marketable through digital content. Students will learn the elements that are required to take a simple idea like Pokemon and build it into a social phenomenon. We're going to do some deep dives into specific markets so you can learn how to replicate the process. And you're also going to experience creating multiple formats of content that can be used to support your campaign. You will learn how to create meaningful publications and market a business online. And why is that important now? Lots of us used online sites to buy clothes or accessories or books before COVID hit. Right now, I do almost all my shopping online since COVID. And everybody I know does. We're always joking about the Amazon truck comes down our block and which one of us is the lucky winner today. What are the psychological triggers that make you buy or not buy? And how can you make those work for you? And where should you be selling and how should you be selling? Now, most influencers focus on the general public at large. They're the marketing equivalent of the girl that sleeps around. They flirt with a lot of brands and a lot of markets for money or product. It's the biggest aspirational job for teenage girls right now. Let me say that again. If you ask a teenage girl what she really wants to be, if her parents aren't in the room, she will tell you she wants to be a social media influencer. Because we all want to be heard. It's nature. It is an emotional, psychological drive inside of us. I want you to hear me now because I love what I'm talking about. And I want to share that love with you so you can go be successful. Here's an example of an Insta famous girl, an influencer. Every product you see her pays her to endorse them. That's why they're all in the picture, beautifully laid out in compatible arrangements of the shades of pink. Sometimes she'll get money. Sometimes we will just get more product that she says she loves, that she really loves or says she loves. This is how it works. It is an entirely new industry. She may be getting as much as $10,000 to make this post with a positive statement, depending on how many people she has in her engagement community. You're going to learn how to become a trusted source in a world where nobody knows who they can trust. We talk about journalism, but that's also talking about how you're going to get your message of a new tea house in your local community out to the market. You're going to talk about all of the aspects of things that people can misinterpret. And you're going to learn how to do it without ever being accused of falsehoods. Which leads us to 904, Politics, Social Cause Marketing, and Community Building. This course covers the way convergence media can be used to move the masses to take action toward a desired goal. The microtopics include propaganda, digital town hall meetings, socially conscious platforms, polling, and interview techniques. Now, we will explore the process of creating a social movement and learn how many times and ways it can be repeated successfully and how to extend and make something sustainable. We're also going to learn why things fail. But the thing about this course, if you look at the details, well, who needs to know about propaganda? I'm going to be selling tea. If you look at the entire career of Shepard Fairey, the artist, all of his art is hearkening back to social media. To propaganda in social media. And how did he help win a presidential campaign? Through that one picture we all recognize instantly. Image of Obama and the word hope. That was a propaganda style. That's the sort of thing you have to learn to spot around you all day, every day, and how you can learn to use it in very well-intentioned ways to reach your market. You're going to learn how he did it. And you're going to get to do it right after the political campaign that changed the entire world, including the part about how he didn't do it again. And more important, you're going to learn how you can do a lot of what he did to build your campaign, your business, your brand, or your career. I do, however, ask that you promise to use it only for good purposes and not for evil. You're also going to learn that there is a strong suspicion that another government infiltrated our social media to brainwash us. Maybe, maybe not. Is Putin the ultimate influencer of global politics? Some people think that right now. Political influencers focus on getting you to choose their specific candidate or support their chosen bills or causes. It has been proven that Putin has had his hands in our elections and in Brexit. And what does he have up his sleeve now that Trump is retired to move to Florida? People don't stop doing what they're doing. They pause and they transition or they pivot. And this is something that you can learn to do, again, using, let's move from tea to fashion. You have a new kind of fashion accessories that you want to market. It is transferable information. That's one of the reasons we study it. You're going to learn how to become a thought leader or an influencer professionally. And both of these can lead to significant streams of income and another lucrative profession. TED Talks is the global gold standard for being an influencer. But there's a lot of other things that happen around the world where influencers make their mark. And here's an example. This is Ryan. Ryan is, I think, 10 years old right now, and Ryan's an influencer. And Ryan has earned more than 2 billion views and has over 21.5 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. He also has a cartoon show on Hulu now. And Ryan made $26 million between June 2018 and June 2019. Ryan began by opening toys, it's called unboxing, and playing with them on his YouTube channel. Now Ryan has his own branded line of toys that you can buy to make him even richer. You can see Ryan's rocket race game, and his picture is on all kinds of toys and wrappings. So we're going to explore how Ryan's parents made that happen and what parts of it you could replicate. Finally, this is what some people of an older generation used to call the e-ticket ride, because you had to have an e-ticket to get on all the cool rides at Disneyland. How to make anything go viral. This covers the needs and desires that explain why people share content with friends and coworkers, including the preparation that must be done prior to launch to enable viral transmission. A successful viral campaign is about reaching as many people in your target audience as possible. By the time we finish this class, you'll have created all the assets that are necessary to launch your first campaign. You'll have learned how to make the necessary changes to your content, and you will know how to replicate the results. And everyone says, well, why can't we just take this class? Because you can't do it unless you've taken the other classes to build all the skills and content that you need to make something go viral. Social media is fun. That's why we do it. That's why I do it. And if you learn how to do it the right way, it becomes your superpower. You have a superpower as a content creator, as a business owner, as a marketing exec, as a journalist, an artist, a writer, a hobbyist, as anybody or anything you want to be. Social media can be your superpower. It doesn't happen overnight. Remember, it took 2013 to 2019, but now look at how the world is hearing that message. It can be triggered and set into process. All the steps will be laid out to you during the 48 hours we spend together. Now, spray and pray. This is not a strategy. You can waste time and huge amounts of money reaching people who will never be interested in what you're trying to sell them. If you have a copy shop in Torrance, you don't need to reach people in Michigan. It may be nice, family and friends, maybe your old alma mater, but that's it. 10 million views sounds like your dream result, but if it's the wrong 10 million, you're dead in the water. So you're going to learn how to use your superpower to target your audience wherever they may be lurking. This is the coronavirus. I think most of us have met him by now. For better or for worse, it taught us when a virus wants to spread, there's not much you can do to stop it. In social media, when you want a virus to spread, there are a lot of things you can do to get started. This is how it might feel right now. I've talked about a lot of different topics, things you may not be into. I don't want to do politics. I don't want to do journalism. Learn from others' experience, and you will be on your way down whatever road you choose to go to. But fear is common. Nobody wants to make a mistake in public, and social media is so public. What I just told you may seem overwhelming. You may not be able to imagine you'll be able to figure this out in 48 hours. But remember, we do 6 hours over the course of 8 weeks. And in between, you're going to have assignments for your own desired goals. And you're going to have the ability to think and pause and understand at a deeper level what we're talking about. I believe this is how easy it's going to feel at the end of the certificate program. Social media content gets easy after you learn process and strategy and how to use simple tools that make your content emotionally engaging for the right people. I will tell you, this is one of the most fun things I've done. I am an academic. I totally delved into this. I spend hours every week studying social media and the new trends. I do it because I like it. Nobody made me do it. I didn't major in it in school because we didn't have it when I was in school. But having a university certificate, if you want to go out and get a good paying job doing social media for others, if you can master these skills, you can get a good paying job. And that job's going to be pretty fun to go to every day. So thank you for watching. I'm Catherine Clinch, and I'm going to turn it back over to Anissa Barton.
Catherine, thank you so much for this. This was incredibly insightful information. And I want to switch us back to our main part of our presentation. We're going to come back to Catherine in just a moment for our Q&A segment. But for now, first, we just want to review the schedule and location details for the program. So we know a lot of you are starting to get your questions in the Q&A panel, and hopefully this will kind of drive some of this. So first, we want to identify that the courses are held on Saturdays for 6-hour sessions and can be completed in as little as 2 months. The courses are offered twice a year during our fall and spring terms. And the courses are now being offered in an online modality using Blackboard and Zoom. At this point in time, no on-campus attendance is required. Okay. Almost all of the CSUDH extended education programs are being offered in an online format, which means that students are assigned online access through our campus's IT services. Each student will need login credentials to access our student portal called My CSUDH. This portal includes Blackboard, our learning management system, where course content is distributed, Toro Mail, which is our Gmail-based student email system, and of course, the Zoom web conferencing tool. Now, these login credentials, which consist of your username, email account, and password, are issued through our registration office approximately 2 to 3 business days after registration in your first course. Enrollment is available through our extended education registration office, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you have taken a course at Dominguez Hills in the past 2 years as an on-campus or through extended education, you may register online using your MyCSUDH student account. We highly recommend that you register early to make sure that there's space in the course and to allow enough time for course information and online access to be created and distributed. Payment is due at the time of registration. Now, you can pay for your courses individually or for multiple courses all at once. The federal WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, provides funding through the California EDD, that's Employment Development Department, for qualifying students who are currently unemployed or seeking career training. For more information, please email wioa@csudh or visit our program website for more information. Now, if you need any other additional financial assistance, Google private student loan providers or connect with salliemay.com for student loan details. Again, we recommend that you register at least 1 week before the course begins and check your Toro Mail and personal emails frequently for special instructions and campus notifications. You'll also want to be sure to test your account access in Blackboard and get comfortable with the layout of the class, such as where to find announcements, Zoom meeting schedules, discussions, and the like. Let us know via our academic technology services if you're having any difficulty connecting. All right, so let's get ready for our Q&A segment. So we know that you guys probably have a lot of questions ahead. We want to give you an opportunity to use that Q&A button down at the bottom of your Zoom control and get your questions in now. And I'll start off with a couple of quick lead-in questions. So usually people want to know, how do I get hired in social media with no experience? What do you say to that, Catherine?
Well, the first thing you want to do is have a really kick-ass portfolio. There are a number of jobs that are entry level. And when you go to certain places online and are able to say, here's a link to my portfolio, because everything gets submitted online, they're going to want to see what your presence is online on the different platforms. This is one of the things you're going to be building in this class. And so you will have the tools to show. And I will tell you that if, as a beginner, you're coming to this and you're able to say, look what I can do my first time out, that's going to be very influential, as opposed to someone who's been doing the same thing the same way in a not impressive way. So the goal here is to help you get a job or build your business. And that's why we're working toward doing a lot of content.
So I'm going into a little bit more detail about the program. So can you tell us, is there homework? What does the homework look like for this?
Well, the homework is creating social media or building a profile of your target audience based on the things we've talked about in the lecture. And so again, it's all for you. There is no busy work. I will be bringing in things that have gone viral and showing you. And I will explain how different people started from nothing and exploded. How one site started struggling for years to build up to 20,000 viewers and wound up very suddenly with 20 million viewers. So we're going to be talking about a lot of the successes that happen and how you can replicate it. It doesn't do anybody any good to say, hey, isn't this cool? All right, try and do it. All right, yeah, that's okay. You kind of missed the point. You need to break down into very small packages of information, the reasons why it's cool, the reasons why people responded, the reasons why it was able to suddenly build. What was that trigger point that pushed it? So that's what we talk about. So yes, you should be building social media content all week. But if you're here at this point, I'm pretty sure you're already doing it or you're desperately trying to do it. And every once in a while, I get to surprise people. I had a woman who came in. She was in her late 70s, and she said, I want to help spread the word in my church. And she came out, she had some of the best content I've ever seen. And she had never really touched social media. She just kept looking away. All those people are using it. I want to reach them. I want to tell them to come to church. And so depending on what your goals are, getting a job is a really good goal. And this is something that's not going to end. It's not like someone's going to go, oh, social media is over. It will constantly be transforming. I created this curriculum 7 years ago. It was a platform, a basis. It changes every single time I teach it. It is exhausting sometimes for me to go, I need more slides on this area. Where am I going to find them? Or I need to build out some more images on this area. Where do I find them? But then once I sit down to do it, I'm having fun. So it's a dual goal. Be an entrepreneur, be an employee. Both of them are achievable.
Okay. Along those lines, you're talking about how social media really takes off, how to get things viral, how to build communities and so on. How do you address the changes in social media itself? We have new tools on a regular. We used to have Vine, that doesn't exist anymore. And Snapchat has been on a rise and a decline. Now we have TikTok. Can you address how do we plan for these changes in social media?
You have to learn how to learn. And I teach you how to do that. I use the word sustainability. I use the word pivot. These are technology words. I spend a lot of time hanging out in technology areas. I've participated in over 24 hackathons. I've won 5 of them. I can't code. But the bottom line here is once you learn, you're jumping into something that is moving target. And you're not just getting on the boat and the boat's going to stay stationary. The boat's going to pull out fast. And you think it's going to go that way, but there's a swell that pushes you over this way, and you just kind of go with the flow. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. How do you spot the fads as opposed to the trends? How do you predict what's going to happen in the future? I think you can do that. And I am constantly on top of it. While you're in the class, I'm bringing you new things each time. I'm also showing, here's something you need to know. This terrible image went viral 4 years ago and impacted a presidential election. Let's talk about why. So we are constantly looking at the elements that have changed. Before there was TikTok, there was musical.ly. And before there was musical.ly, there was, I'm forgetting the word, it was Leaf or Vine, thank you. So you forget. But you know,
They
it
change
just
on regular.
7 seconds and they know, no, they need 15 seconds. No, they need 30 seconds. And now they're giving you up to 120 seconds. And people are building entire businesses and careers on TikTok. It's not going to be there forever. What is going to take over? And what do we look at on TikTok right now to figure out what's going to be taking over next?
And speaking of the changes in platforms, Marlo asks a really great question. Will we also be learning how to multitask between different platforms, preparing how to post at almost the same time? How do you address multitasking in social media?
I don't believe in multitasking. I believe in rapid sequential tasking. Because you literally can't do two things at once. I know there's people who can draw the pictures with both hands. And yes, they're doing very symmetrical things and they're doing it very slowly. And that's a really good kind of parlor trick. That being said, it's not multitasking. It's telling your story in a multi-platform world. And you can't put the same thing on Facebook and then put it on Twitter and then put it on Insta and expect that your followers are going to follow you on all three platforms. Everything has to change. Everything has to adapt. And that's why I mean studying the multi-platform world and how it fits your content. You don't have to play on every platform. I know people who pick one. And then you have all of the aspects of that to work with. And as that grows and changes, you grow and change.
Along those lines, Brenda Gertman asks, as content creators, how will we own our digital content? If we're creating on all these different platforms, how do you keep track of that as an intellectual property? How do you address that?
Okay, that's a really iffy question. Once you put it out there, you don't own it per se. I guess you could put it out for NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which is the big new thing now, if someone thought there was value in it. You can also do batch content and copyright. There are a lot of different things you can do, but for an example, in my spare time, narrate the inner lives and loves of the pets of Pinterest. I love animals. I just thought this was fun to start doing. And some of them started getting 750,000 hits and repins. So I was at a conference. I ran into one of the execs at Pinterest and I said, listen, I'd kind of like to do a book. Can you help me source the photos? And I showed him some of my stuff. And as he's laughing, he's going, okay, maybe we could help you here. And maybe we could get back to the first person who posted it, but we can't guarantee that's the person who owns the negative.
Right.
And so this is it. It is the brave new world. It is the Wild West. And what you build is the fact that you're going to have a place where someone can find all of your original content. You're going to watermark it. I'm going to show you how to do that. So every time it goes, your name goes with it. And I'm going to find as many possible tools that keep coming forward. Whether if something shows up in 7 weeks, I'm going to be telling you about it. And so you're also going to learn how to learn. So you're going to be able to know what's happening every single week as it goes on. You can look at all the stuff in the world, and then you can look at the stuff that's going to help you. One of the things I found, there's a bunch of stuff that's for free online. Why should you pay for a class when you get it for free? They're all telling you the same thing. And it all starts with the thing, okay, once you've got your content, here's what you do. None of that matters. It is all about the content. And that's why I feel so strongly. So you're going to create your content. You're going to watermark it. You're going to have a repository where people can come back and find that you originated it. And that will have a statement at the bottom, all material copyrighted, which gives you a certain measure of ownership. But there's no way to ever protect everything because the whole goal is to get it seen by the most people.
Right. And even factoring in things like screenshotting or these various tools that can make changes. Yeah. It's just interesting how everything is changing. Right. Right. We have. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. I will tell you that some people think that they can make a photo uncopyable. And I will tell you that I can go there and copy it in 2 seconds.
Right.
Because that's one of the places that I get stuff to show you. I can't teach without having it. So there's fair use. I'm not going to push it out and say it's mine. I'm not going to try and send it out with a message of mine attached to it because they didn't want it copied. But National Geographic is great about that. They're like, you can't copy our images. Of course you can't. You're going to see a lot of them. And I will.
Doesn't mean that we should, but right.
But for educational purposes, that's
for educational purposes, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I listen. I have a very strong moral code. It's like that's why I say I'm going to show you how to do something you can use for evil. Please don't. I want you to use it for good.
Speaking of for good, so we have a question from an anonymous attendee who says, throughout the certificate program, you also cover how to build strategies, campaigns, and content. Do we do this for how to build a brand for an academic unit in higher education? Here we
Yes.
are in a higher education platform.
Yes, you can.
How do we twist the
if you have
focus?
created, I'm sorry, I'm tripping all over you because I'm excited about this. If you have created a new modality of teaching, you can definitely create ownership of it, and you can distribute it digitally, and you can sell it. You can share. A lot of teachers do this in elementary school, and it's really become this cottage industry. Don't pay Rand McNally, pay a teacher. And the material is adapted for students in certain areas, or students in special ed, or students with highly gifted needs. And I sat through last summer a number of, I'm not trash talking our campus, but I sat through a number of presentations of things that were presented as new tech and new tools for the classroom. And I was just sitting there going, these are not exciting, they're not useful, they're not essential. If you can come up with that stuff, I can show you how to build it. And that would be incredible fun, because I've been working with this campus since 1995. So did I just date myself? Yes, I did.
Laura Castillo asks, can you use logo and content that you already have, but want to improve and learn more on how to increase engagement? Or does it have to be all new creative content that we're using for the course?
Absolutely, yes. If you're using a logo, we can talk about it. There may be some ways to make it better. There may be some things that make it more identifiable. There may be some different shifts in color or shade or shape. So we can work with all of that. This is not, all right, when I teach in the classroom, I am not one of those people that says, do it this way. I want this many words, this many lines. I want it exactly like the way I want it. I'm like, here's the goal. Show me what you can do. Let's talk about all the things, the milestones you have to achieve in pursuing that goal. Because I teach creative areas. I teach writing, I teach production, I teach storytelling, and now I teach social media strategy. None of that can have pedantic elements. So yes, we're going to be very creative, and that is the goal.
Okay. Coming to more of the logistics of the course, are there any particular textbooks or materials that students need to purchase or have in advance?
Yes, there are textbooks. I'm going to start with the one that I edited. It's written by an entertainment attorney who gets $1,800 an hour. You can get it on Amazon for $10, in Kindle, $20 hardcover. It's called Next, Reinventing Media, Marketing, and Entertainment. And it's by Peter Deckham. The man has represented studio heads, A-list talent. He is a genius. We took it down from 568 pages to 238, and every single word is worth hanging on to. I also use Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I use True Believer by Erwin Hoffer. And I use two very small books that have a very big impact. One is the world's best-selling book by Paul Arden, which is a little play on words. It's also the only book that Paul Arden had written at the time. And the final one is Radical Careering by Sally Hogshead. That is her name. She is a genius. She was given an impossible task as an advertising creative in New York to introduce the Fine Living Network on a budget of $50,000. That's like one ad buy. Where do you put that commercial? Instead, she rented a barge in the middle of winter, covered it with sand, hired 3 actors, a butler, a hula dancer, and a tourist, put some potted palms in a chaise tree, and played hula music and floated it up and down the East River in Manhattan. And it received approximately $500 million worth of what is called earned media. You're going to learn how to do that stuff too. So those are the 5 books. And intermittently, I'll toss something out to you and say, this is from this source or that source, that you don't necessarily have to read all of. But these 5 books are like must-read understanding. And again, I don't test you on it. I trust you. We're adults. And it's there for you. But the reading is fascinating. So it's definitely worth taking a look at. I've tried to keep it all cheap because I really hate the idea of, well, here's a textbook that costs $300. So they're all cheap.
Okay. What happens if a student has a schedule conflict on the day of a class?
If it's one class, if it's two classes, talk to me ahead of time. And I have been flexible. I've had to be flexible. In the beginning of the session in 2020, everybody had to miss a class, and we started a week earlier because I got COVID. We started a week later, and things happen, life happens. And the goal is everybody gets through this. So then please definitely just talk to me.
Okay, and that makes perfectly good sense. Clara asks, she says, will I need to attend live or can I watch the recorded Zooms for the sessions? What is the class participation aspect like?
You should attend live. And I mean, I understand. All right, I'm also one of those people. You have kids, you have dogs, you have parrots, bring them in. I don't care. That's what life is. And I understand that I have to leave half an hour earlier. I have to do it. The class is on Saturday. Most people are available on Saturdays. Plus, we're going into the fall when people have kids. And I really scheduled this so we're not meeting on Halloween. We stopped before Halloween. And I sat there having raised 3 kids going, this is that part of the school calendar where everybody's pretty much staying home a lot because everybody's getting accustomed to everything. There's not a lot of sports starting yet. So it seemed like, an effective time of year to do it. Again, talk to me. I don't put recordings of this out. Okay.
Right. We had a question from Ace. He asks, will I get tools on choosing a reputable wholesaler? And I think he might be referring to like buying followers or something along those lines.
There is no such thing as a reputable wholesaler. You are buying bots. And I'm not only going to show you how not to buy bots, how to get users the honest way, but how to spot whether or not you've been hit by a bot and whether or not a bot has invaded your account and gone into all your friends' accounts. And so we do a lot of that talking because there is no such thing as a reputable wholesaler of followers.
Right. And it's crucial to understand the content. He's referring to e-commerce, by the way.
Oh, to e-commerce. We do a lot of stuff on e-commerce. And yes, I will show you.
Right.
And the nice thing is I'm in the process of building a brand in e-commerce, so you can come follow what I'm doing and learn from my mistakes.
Excellent. Learning as we go. That's cool. Can you tell us just overall what kind of certificate, what are the benefits of this kind of certificate to have this kind of skill set in your arsenal of tools, so to speak?
Okay. Here's the thing. When someone is hiring, right now, almost all the hiring is done online. Submit your resume online. They will look for certificates because what that says is you cared enough about this to go out and get a university education in it. And, look, I'm not teaching in my garage. I have a graduate degree. I am an experienced academic. My goal is to help you do something that most people are not giving you. So it's not like you can say, well, we have 15 candidates who have degrees in social media. From where? And if you got a degree, how pedantic was it? Are you studying? Well, we're going to study the data of how many people responded to something. That's irrelevant. By the time you say the sentence, we're going to study the data, it's over. It's changed. So we're going to look at different elements that have impacted the past and see where they're taking us in the future. But I've also understood that a number of people recognize this degree because they know me in Hollywood. And Hollywood and New York are a lot more places where you're going to get these jobs for major companies than anywhere else. They are holding grounds for this kind of work. You can go into public relations, you can go into advertising and marketing, and small businesses need this kind of work. So a number of students have gone into consulting. And one of my students, it was fascinating because I lost touch with her. One of my students came into here as a filmmaker and wound up heading social media for a major social cause. And I ran into her and she was like, you're not going to believe what I did. And she would come in every week going, and this was in the classroom, I don't know, you're giving me too much to think about. I can't process this all. And just break it down, take your time, figure it out. If you're having a lot of thoughts, rest, breathe, see which thoughts are sticking out the most. I had another student who was in PR, and all she wanted to do was freelance. I just want to freelance because I can't even get a job. I ran into her, and she is the head of PR for a major aerospace firm. So you don't know where it's going to take you. But the fact that this is a university certificate from a university that just built a building that says innovation on the side of it. Okay, we are innovative. We started developing Blackboard. We were at the forefront of distance learning. Everybody hates Zoom. I love Zoom. I'm enjoying this. We're going to have a lot of fun on Zoom. This is why I go to social media. So all of these things together benefit you. Is it a guarantee? No, nothing is a guarantee. Absolutely nothing. You can be at the top of your game and plummet immediately. You can be Harvey Weinstein with a room full of Oscars, and it all goes away one day, as do you eventually go away. But the bottom line is, I focus on sustainability. How do you learn how to learn? How do you learn how to say, well, this is where I am now. I can't get comfortable because something's coming next. How do I figure out what it is?
Absolutely.
No, it's a value.
Okay.
It's a real value.
Well, Catherine, we want to thank you for your time. This insightful information has been incredible. I hope everybody is excited to get started. So we're thanking you for your time. And I'm going to go ahead and just close us out with this last little bit of information. So at this point, we've covered a great deal of detail regarding the programs, but just in case you missed anything, feel free to email or call us during our business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can call 310-243-2075, or you can email learn@csudh.edu. Please take a look at that information kit. Once again, all of the details for the course information are inside. And when you're ready to take your next steps and register, our registration office is standing by to take your registrations via phone at 310-243-3741, and just click on option 1. Remember also, if you've recently been a student at CSUDH, simply log into your My CSUDH portal to register for your courses online. This concludes Social Media Strategies and Content Marketing Program information session. And we want to thank you for joining us today. Again, feel free to connect with us on our website, our social media, on our Facebook page and LinkedIn. And remember to register early to get your spot in your preferred classes. Now we'll stay in the session for a few minutes more to give everyone a moment to jot down last-minute notes and details and download the information kit from the chat panel. The recording for this session will be online shortly on our website, and it's also available right now on YouTube. When you're ready to leave, simply click the red leave button in the corner of your screen. Also, we'd love to get your feedback for this information session. If you can go to bit.ly/CSUDH-webinar-feedback and help us make our presentations even better. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in class. Stay safe and have a great day. Take care, everyone.